Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of our Growth Fit interview series. My name is Ashwini. I'm the growth engineer at CustomFit.ai. Our today's guest, she was been working with so many companies in B2B marketing for over 10 years, building an offline expertise across UK, European, APAC, and US markets. From startup to established business, I must say that she has experience in working with and managing both in-house and agency teams. So she's none other than Fiona Stevens. So let's hear her story in marketing world, how she started and now what is she doing and what are her plans in future. Welcome Fiona, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me. What an introduction. Um, I guess I started my career in PR, doing an internship straight after university, and very quickly decided that I hated PR. It was far too much like sales. Decided that I wanted to be the person that makes the story behind a brand, not just the person that tells that story. So since then, I've been working in all kinds of marketing. Mainly across agencies, so SEO agency, PR agency, content agency, and then focused on e-commerce specifically since about 2014, and then loyalty has been a big focus for the last 5 or 6 years. So kind of a generalist marketer who's ended up in a bit of a niche with e-commerce loyalty.
E-commerce. So you are a e-commerce lady, I would say. So you must be having experience in so many things regarding e-commerce. Would you like to emphasize on a particular segment, or would you like to share some experience in e-commerce which you had a good experience, a bad experience, combination?
Wow. I mean, it's always a good experience in e-commerce. The landscape changes really regularly. Obviously, over the past year or so, e-commerce has grown really quickly, which has been great to see. And a few other areas have been struggling, so it's fantastic to see one area that's just been growing. But it's just a fascinating place to operate. Everything changes so rapidly, and it's so based on consumer behavior. So things like the new Apple privacy update will completely change how consumers decide to give up their data, and that will mean that e-commerce marketers have to completely rethink their strategies. So I'd say, it's a fast-moving space, but a very, very interesting one.
Great. And can you please tell us something about Loyaltylion? Like you are head of marketing at Loyaltylion. What problems do you solve? Does a Loyaltylion solve? And what marketing philosophy you follow to keep up the spirit?
Oh, good question. Well, Loyaltylion itself we're a loyalty and engagement platform, and we work with e-commerce merchants to build so that they can build and customize their own loyalty programs. The idea is that you can build your own brand in a way that allows you to compete with Amazon and the bigger marketplaces out there. In terms of marketing philosophy, I mean, obviously, again, it's been a bit of a strange period. The whole marketing team's been working remotely for over a year now. But we've also grown as a team, so lots of new faces coming in. And I think we only met in person as a full team just last week. So lots and lots of change. And I think for me, the important thing to keep spirit up is to always be sharing. So we have daily stand-up calls. We really work to celebrate each other's successes. We always do training together, so we learn from each other. I think it's important. You can be an expert in your area of marketing, but you should be sharing those skills with other people.
Definitely.
All the time as well.
Definitely. So that's the main thing, and we are also following that thing in our personal team, I would say, on a personal agenda. So as Loyaltylion is a platform for fast growth e-commerce merchants worldwide. So how do you really conduct a research to reach out to your audience? And is it content? Is it paid campaigns, social media? What are the mediums you encounter to reach your audience? Like what are your perfect plan, or maybe uh, it's working or not working, but what all things you try it out to reach out to your particular segment of e-commerce? Or audience, your niche segment?
Yeah, I mean, we use a whole combination of channels, and I think the important thing is that we're always experimenting with new things. For us, the mediums that really resonate are obviously online and the website. So we're a very content-based marketing setup. We run sort of big quarterly content campaigns that hopefully are very useful to educate merchants and e-commerce merchants in what they could be doing to make more revenue and make more sales. And that obviously content ties in really heavily to SEO and social media. And so I'd say that those are our key channels, but also partner marketing is a big thing for us. There are lots of tools that Loyaltylion integrates with. So doing co-marketing like ebooks and webinars, again, trying to work together to really educate merchants and help them with our marketing. They're probably the things that are in terms of a perfect plan, but I would say we experiment with new things all the time and they don't always work at all. So, yeah.
So data always works. So what are the data points that you would use to use for deciding your ideal customer profile?
And I mean, our customer profile is obviously quite niche to e-commerce. So there's a whole range of data points we'd look at. We'd look at gross market value, how much revenue a merchant is making. We might look at how many products they actually sell on their site. To be honest, we look at what they're selling. If it's not something that you would repeat purchase, then it's not really right for a loyalty program. So for example, you replenish your shower gel or your razors or even your socks quite regularly, but you only buy, say, a mattress once every 7 years. So yeah, it really depends what they're selling as to whether they are the right customer profile
Right.
for us.
So basically, you need to understand your customer's customer.
Yeah, very much so, and see how often, how regularly they're buying and what demographic they are.
Right.
Yeah. And then also
So
what,
that, sorry.
sorry, I was going to say that the technology that they're using is important as well. You know, are they using a technology that Loyaltyline can easily integrate with, or are they using any of the other tools like email providers or review providers that Loyaltyline integrates with as well?
Right. Like this is really important, and these are the insights are which you must encounter in your strategy, I would say. Like if you're a startup, if you're a mid-sized company, or if you are a MNC, like a big-sized company, doesn't matter. But these are the basic things I would say, which you are sharing with us. So thank you for that. How do you ensure that your website is personalized with content based on your audience?
I think when it comes to the website, it's about working really closely with other people in your business who are in constant contact with your target audience to make sure that the messages you're showing on there really resonate with your target audience. So, you know, stay really close to your sales and your success teams. They're kind of your secret weapon. They're the people that are talking to your customers all the time. So make sure you're listening to their demo calls or getting feedback from the support team on what people are worrying about, what your customers are really worrying about. If you can, talk to your customers themselves and get a bit of a feedback loop going there. I think that's the best way to really make sure that your website's going to resonate.
That's perfect. And what, according to you, is the one way in which personalization can contribute and enhance the game of your digital marketing?
Good question. I think obviously personalization is a big buzzword. To be honest, it has been for a few years, and it ranges, doesn't it? You know, you could say that an email's personalized just because it says "Hi Fiona" instead of "Hi there," or you can get into the whole realms of, you know, serving up different web pages to different people. But I think for me, the key thing to personalization is making someone feel that you understand their problems,
Right.
feel that you understand the day-to-day headaches that they have, that you empathize, you get what their struggles are, and make them feel like you're there to help them solve that problem, but you're not selling to them. You know, you're there to be a partner rather than a bit of a hard sell. I think that's the key to good personalization.
Right. So basically, we are into the same page. Like with personalization, we have with our tool, there are so many things you can personalize at a time. not just one page or not just one button or one content. You don't need to experiment on a single thing. You have through one page you can just change all the things in your web page, and not only your web page, your website. So that's the problem we are like solving for customers. Or maybe with ChargeBee we have done same thing with the pricing page, that they have now lifted almost 1.3, they have 1.3% of lift in this thing, because of just changing the content plus the call to action, and like two or three more things in the same web
Mm.
page. So
Yeah.
if you visit first, the customer visits at the first time, what would you show? And second time, what would you show? Third time, what would you show?
Yeah, and I
So
think it's about using your tools to understand what that journey is. How many times do people on average come back and visit? What's their path? How long are they spending? You know, at what point
yeah,
are they ready to talk to you?
yeah.
Understanding all those things
Basically,
is
so
important.
basically connect to your website visitor in deep way and understand them. And even you can understand, like as a marketer, you can understand the things behind it, like what a user journey is basically going on your website. So
Yeah,
that's it. And
yeah, absolutely.
we always say, as you said, the data is important. So what is your secret formula in designing a campaign or paid campaign?
Oh, paid campaign. I'll be honest, paid campaigns aren't really my forte anymore. There's people on my team who
Okay.
are infinitely more skilled in that now.
Okay.
But I think the tools that we have today make it very easy to be super targeted with your paid campaigns. You know, for example, on LinkedIn, we might narrow down to job titles within a business, within a particular type of vertical that has more than X number of employees. You know, it's possible to really to to use the targeting built into the tools to get a very relevant audience. And I think the other thing is obviously lookalike audiences. Again, as we said already, the iOS 14 update is going to mean that some of your audience opts out to targeted messages. So your lookalike audiences are going to start to be even more valuable than they were before. Trying to get, you know, people that look like the profile of the right people to see your campaigns. So I think again, it definitely depends what you're selling and who you're selling to in terms of the most valuable data points. But the formula would be make the most of the tools that you have available to you and try and pull out the criteria that really makes sense for your brand. So for us, it would be e-commerce marketers or e-commerce directors, you know, and really narrowing down to that level is very important.
Right, right, right. And what metric which metric of yours is favorite? Like which you
Which
would you like to go for a picnic with?
with a metric, wow, all of them. I love measuring things.
Is
But
it
no,
ROI? Is it or any other metric you or all the metrics you would like to go with a pick?
well, I think part of me would like to say revenue because obviously that's the hard evidence as to how well your marketing strategy is working. But at the same time, you as a marketing team, you can only influence that to a certain degree. Once you hand over a lead into the sales team, there's not that much that you can do there. So I think for me, the key metric would be how many of the leads that you're bringing in are becoming sales qualified. I think that's the best measure that the marketing you're doing is bringing in the right people. It can't be dressed up or dodged in any way. It's really hard evidence as to either you're getting to the right people or you're not.
Right, right. That's a very valuable information. And if you're measuring the leads, then what should be the ideal way of source of your lead generation? Or what is working for Loyaltylion as the source of lead generation now?
Um, yeah, I think uh, in terms, obviously it's changed over the past 12 months. So we haven't been able to do physical events in the same way. So everything's moved a lot more online, but webinars is a very good channel for us. We do a lot, as I said, with content campaigns, and that simultaneously drives our SEO as well and our partner marketing. To be honest, those are probably our key channels.
Yeah, webinars definitely it really works. Like you get thousands of leads in one webinar. But it should be in a proper way, definitely, as this is for fellow marketers.
Yeah, I think it's about how you follow up
Yeah.
different leads that come from different sources, because there's a big difference between somebody who has actively looked for what you're selling on Google versus somebody who's thought, oh, they're talking about something interesting, I'll dial into a webinar. You know, one person's actively looking for your product, the other person is not and isn't ready to be sold to. So
Okay.
I think
And
the follow up of leads is more important than how they're
okay.
generated.
As you have mentioned about follow-ups, this is what is your criteria or what is your method to follow up with customers or with prospects through webinars? This is I am trying to understand because we are also organizing webinars nowadays. So
I think, as I said, I
I'm
think
just
it depends on lots of things. Depends on where someone is in your journey. So are they a customer that's joining the webinar, or are they somebody who your sales team is already talking to that's joining the webinar, or are they completely fresh? You've never seen them before, but they've found it on social media or something like that. I think the biggest mistake that we make as marketers is to assume that because somebody attended the webinar, they're ready to talk to you. That may well not be the case. So I think it's about trying to build out a profile for each of those leads. And obviously, you know, things like HubSpot, Salesforce, Marketo, they all help you do that. But yeah, just don't assume that every single person who joined your webinar is ready to be followed up by a salesperson. There might be a bit more of a journey to go there first. And I think the other thing is follow up materials is really important. So we're finding a lot that because webinars are so common now, people don't always actually join them. They just watch the recording afterwards. So you may get fewer people actually joining the session, but you'll probably get a very good number of people watching it on demand later. So think about different ways that you can do follow-up content, whether it's a blog post that wraps up a summary of the webinar for somebody who didn't have time to listen to it, or whether it's a frequently asked questions based on the questions that were asked in the webinar, you know, or just sharing the recording after the call. There's lots of different ways to follow up. The people that signed up found that topic interesting. So what else can you give them on that topic?
definitely. So thank you so much for emphasizing on that, Fiona. What is your source of information to keep yourself updated in this marketing industry updates?
And I'm a really big fan of the Drift Insider. So Drift is a messaging tool, but they have a fantastic kind of academy on their site, and the material in there is fantastic. I'd really recommend that. I listen to the podcast when I'm out running and things like that. There's a lot to learn on there. To be honest, though, I think there's no substitute for just conversations with other marketers. So find a few people who are working in the same space as you and try and have regular conversations with them, just comparing notes. As long as they're not competing with you, people are usually pretty open to sharing their experiences, comparing notes on what they're doing and what their focuses are, and I find that completely invaluable.
So this is for the fellow marketers, even 0 to 2 years, or if you're a 10 years plus experience, you need to follow this. You have to be updated in this world. Otherwise, you cannot sustain. So you're working with in this SaaS industry for so long. So what is that one thing one should keep in mind before they enter this SaaS marketing world?
Good
Particularly
question.
SaaS marketing. Yeah.
Particularly SaaS, I think, particularly with SaaS, it's important to not wait for things to be perfect before you launch them. Things change very quickly in a SaaS business. So
I like it.
you know, you could work on something for 6 months on a pricing page or something for 6 months to get it completely right and launch it, and it still doesn't do what you wanted it to do. So, you know, don't wait for everything to be perfect. Get something out there, test it, iterate on it. But don't wait for it to be perfect before you launch would be, I think, the key thing. And I think the other thing is don't wait to build a relationship with sales. The two, marketing and sales, need to be working extremely closely together in a SaaS business from the word go.
Great. And like here in 2020 and 2021, lots of things changed. And I think globally it changed, and this marketing industry is also changed. So, what according to you was the scenario before the pandemic situation, and what is the situation right now, and how what are the challenges a marketer is facing right now, and how do one overcome that? A marketer should overcome that.
I think, sorry, it cut out slightly there, but I think I got the question.
Okay.
Challenges, I think in actual fact, there are some things that are positives that came out of the pandemic, particularly in e-commerce. We saw a lot of brands who didn't know how to do things online, figure out how to do them online. And I think there was a lot of evolution in marketing there. So I think for me, it's important that we don't just revert back to the old ways of doing things. If we tried something in the last year online that we previously wouldn't have done and it worked well, we should keep that evolution going. But I think it's very interesting. Marketers, we almost have a responsibility to improve the way that we do things. So webinars, for example, we had already found before COVID that people were finding hour-long presentation-based webinars quite boring. So we were launching 15-minute interview series and things like that instead. And I think, the danger is that we'll all get a little bit too complacent. Webinars work. Okay, we'll keep doing long, slightly too boring webinars instead of really sort of taking the time to be creative. I think marketing was once about 100% about creativity, and then it shifted towards data. But you still have to be thinking creatively about all of the channels that you're working on, because ultimately it's about providing a good experience to your customers and your prospective
And
customers.
now it is digital creativity.
Yeah, yeah,
And nowadays you should be creative but digitally.
yeah. And I think you have to be, because there's so much noise. There are so many people selling the same things as you, or selling something that maybe isn't the same but could take somebody else's budget from you. You have to spend some time on creative messaging, creative campaigns, or just thinking about, okay, if we're going to do a webinar, what are we going to do differently this time in terms of format so
Yeah.
that it's a bit more engaging?
So, if you are not selling, but if you're connecting with someone to just let them know about your product, so one should always think about how differently I can do that. So everyone follows the same path, but what are the that different points your product gives rather than others, or and how the way of approach should be might be in a different way. You should creatively think about again and again. You should creatively think about these ways, and I believe it would definitely change, and it will uh, take a a really different way now after 10 years, which in marketing world, like which has right now, the scenario will definitely change.
Yes, absolutely. I will be doing things completely differently with completely different tools in 10 years' time.
Okay, and I'm coming to the digital marketing part. What do you think is the most effective way of increasing brands' online presence?
Oh, I think there's probably no set answer to that, because again, it completely depends what you're selling and to whom. But I think one channel that's hugely underutilized is internal advocacy, and actually getting your employees to follow you, share your content, post your content themselves, not just retweet your company's tweet, but actually be putting the content out there themselves. I think that's extremely hard to get people to do, and it's hard to track, but it has a huge multiplier effect on your content. Because if you think about it, your sales team are probably connected to everybody they've ever spoken to on LinkedIn. So if they're putting that content out there, you're reaching far more people than you will be just through your company channels. So I'd say, the employee advocacy bit is a very good way of increasing your online presence.
Great. And Fiona, I would like to understand what plans you're looking forward to execute after this changed situations. Like everything there was a very positive way to looking at this situation from your. I really appreciate that. So, uh, what are your plans and what all changes you would like to make with your strategy in this current situation?
I think, as I said, it's about finding more creative ways of doing things. So we're trialing all sorts of different types of webinars, like Ask Me Anything sessions that are based on
Right.
questions that merchants actually submit. We've tried kind of roundtable virtual dinners on Zoom, which varying levels of success. I think, yeah, as things open up a bit more, it'll be a slow and steady getting back to physical events. So conferences and things will take a long time to come back and for people to feel confident that they can attend them. But you could be doing in-person meetings and sort of those nice roundtable sessions with people in the interim. But I think, yes, still understanding how you can keep those things going online is important. And then I think it's the real challenge actually in the next 12 months or so is more about there's just so much noise everywhere. Everybody's pumping out marketing messages, your inbox is full all the time. So how can you, whether it's just being a bit cleverer or a bit funnier even with your copywriting, or just how can you get people's attention?
Yeah, that's grab the attention of your ICPs is what you really need to think at the core or basic, or a marketer should think in at least in a SaaS marketing industry.
Absolutely, yeah.
And coming to last two questions, Fiona. So what is that one advice you would like to give an entry marketer
Oh,
or for their successful careers?
wow. I think it would be make connections and keep them really warm. And I know that networking is a buzzword. Nobody really likes it. You'll get training on it in lots of different organizations. But it's less about maybe going to events and networking, but more find lots of people who are doing the same thing as you are for similar businesses, and then keep in touch with those people because all the answers you'll be looking for down the line, they will either have found or will be looking for as well. So having just making those connections, keeping them warm so that you've always got someone to compare notes with is really important. And I think the other thing would be don't specialize too soon. And if you do, if you end up going down a route of PPC or SEO or anything like that, that's absolutely fine. But stay close to the other members of your team who are doing different things. Get involved in their products where you can. So not products, projects where you can, so that you are keeping a more generalist view and you always know what's happening in different areas of marketing.
That's super valuable, I would say. Uh, yeah, we are getting so many advices for entry level marketers, and I think one who follows all this podcast, I think that they should be very efficient after their listening to podcast and just before entering into this industry. And well, lastly, I'm curious to understand your mentor in marketing and growth.
And I've had a few people over the years, to be honest, people, and often the best mentors are actually the people that you would do things differently to. So you learn from managers who perhaps you think, oh, I wouldn't have done it that way. That helps you grow. But I've got a great advisor now who always brings me back to earth with a bit of a bump, helps me get context when I need it. It's great to always have someone outside your own business who you can chat to and get feedback from. But I would also say the C-suite in my own business in Loyaltylion keeps me really well informed, always gives me a lot of clear direction and sanity checking as well. So I think it's good to find yourself a mentor within and without of your business.
Thank you so much, Fiona. Like this was a really valuable session for me. As I understood, I that one webinar follow up, I really understood what all things you need to focus on. Uh, you create an event, right? And this these all efforts are just to uh, have some motive behind it. So when and that is again when you follow up, then it is important. Then it is giving you results. So according to me, that was a really valuable information, at least for me. And
Okay.
apart from that, these sessions are even like we get to know so many things as we have just started marketing. This is maybe our 17th episode,
Wow.
but we have learned a lot of things from everyone and all the speakers till now, and even we will. It's a really long way to go. So thank you so much, Fiona, for joining us today and for your time.
No, thanks for
Uh,
having me.
with this session, we will end up here. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us with this Growth Fit interview series. Thank you.